Welcome everybody to the iSeek Institute, which is on a mission to create nonviolence, and we have additional people coming. Sometimes they come a little late, that's why he played the film. So other people have called and said they'll be here. This mission is to create in people what they already know. They don't know that they know until they hear it from a human being who can give them verifiable proof of how the universe has made them. This universe, some people call it Mother Nature, some people call it God, some people call it different names. But the all-powerful source that has created this universe has created trillions and trillions of stars and galaxies, 8.4 million species of life, and has placed some of her intelligence in all of the species. All of the species know exactly what they should eat. Sometimes when I give lectures and talk in different parts of America and elsewhere abroad, questions come up. You may have questions. You can ask them at the end of the session. We're going to have a question and answer session. And the challenge is for me to answer these questions in a way which can satisfy people. I consider most of the questions that have been asked of me, I've been able to give satisfactory answers to the point where they start praising me afterward. But I value strongly the criticism that I get, because it's in criticism that helped me improve my delivery. And I learned from my delivery how to improve them. Because I had heard and learned that you learn from your criticism and for your unsuccessfulness in life. And that's where your lessons come from, more so than from your successes. So to go on about the universe and how we've been made, and I want to offer you proof. I just don't want to sit up here and talk and pontificate. I want to offer you proof. So at this time, I'm going to ask a question which I learned halfway around the world in my many travels. The universe, because of my strong desire and seeking for awareness, created a circumstance and a situation, because that's the way the universe communicates. She created a circumstance where I met this person who was very wise. And this person gave me an example. He said, I don't want to just tell you something. I want to offer you proof. I said, what proof can you offer me? I was a little arrogant at that time, okay? I said, what proof can you offer me? He said, do you drive an automobile? I said, yes. He said, what if you're in your automobile and it's in sunny weather and you're riding down the road and you're extremely relaxed and calm and peaceful? If an animal suddenly rushes in front of you without thinking, he said, what is your first instinct? I'm going to call on somebody. Let me call on this gentleman who's hiding in the back of the room. What is your first instinct if an animal rushes in front of your car without thinking? That's 99% of the answers that people give. They say they stop. I said his knowledge is embedded within your consciousness, is hidden deep inside of yourself. And without thinking, this nonviolent pulsation forces you to put on brakes. But if somebody aggravates you and they tap the negative side of how you've been made, because this universe is made in a dualistic way. Everything expresses itself in the physical universe in a dualistic way, which means two ways. We being human have been balanced. But if we get angry, we can go get a gun. We have to get something artificial, a knife, a brick, or a stick. Nature is clever. If you pay attention to her, she has created violent species and non-violent species. The violent species are automatically equipped where they don't need guns, bricks, and sticks. They can run fast, capture an animal, hold it down with its claws, bite its scissor-like, knife-like teeth into that other animal, bite a piece of meat off of it, chew it just a little bit because their mouth cannot move in a circle like the non-violent animals. These violent animals, lions, hyenas, tigers, etc., you can say dogs, their mouth move up and down. They can swallow their sliced meat in huge chunks without choking. On the other side, if you look at the non-violent animals, they have a small throat system. They have to chew their food in a slow manner. They are made to chew non-violent food, plant-based food. And they have to swallow it slowly. If they swallow it too fast, they can choke. You know they can't eat chunks of meat, right? We're not made like that. Nature did not make you like that. Look at your body. You did not make your body. Nature has created so many illusions in this world. I'll tell you a big illusion that she has created. She created the feeling that your parents created you. Your parents only participated in the process of passing on their genes. You belong to the universe. Nature made you. My parents messed me up as a child. They fed me a lot of chicken, fish, burgers, especially around the 4th of July. And you're looking at a reform addict now. I love this stuff. But once I met this person, he said there's food out there made from plants that look like, chew like, smell like meat, but made from plants. And he also told me something that's very obvious, which all of you have learned in high school, that the best type of nutrition that Mother Nature has created is sunlight and water. That's the best type she's created. But we can't eat the sun. Nobody can eat the sun. You can drink water. Plants are the only visible species that can eat the sun through photosynthesis, which you learn in high school, and drink water. She's done something else to the plants. She's put all of her effective and curative medicine inside of plants. You have a question before I finish? Okay, write them down. I'll give all of the answers and satisfy you. I thought your hand was up. But anyway, she's put all of her medicine inside of plants. Plants can cure and heal some of the diseases and ailments that we have. It can reduce obesity. It can reduce high blood pressure. It can make your blood flow through your veins easier without getting stopped up by the slime that you put in your body. There's a doctor in California. His name is Dr. Dean Ornish. Bill Clinton, if you Google this, when he was president and he was to attend his daughter's wedding, she wanted him to lose 20 pounds. And on Wolf Blitzer's program, it was on 6 o'clock news, Clinton said, an amazing thing happened when the doctor put me on an all plant protein diet. He said, not only did I lose the weight, but the stents that I had in my heart automatically open up and heal on their own. That's what plants can do. So this doctor practiced surgery without cutting up a person. He's in California. He does that. One of these days we'll get him down here and you'll get a chance to meet him and ask questions. So you don't have to overly rely on me, okay? But anyway, plants got all of the curative and medicinal cocktails for the human body. And nature has done this clever thing, not just for human beings. All of the species have an instinct that when they get sick, they know exactly how to fast, drink a little water and some liquid, and go get some herbs and grass. They get their medicine that way. They don't have to go to Walgreens or to any pharmacies. They know this. There existed 2,000 years ago a famous physician by the name of Hippocrates. How many have heard of Hippocrates? You've heard of him, ma'am? He lived in Greece. At that time, he was highly recognized physician who ate nothing but plant-based food. And he came with an important phrase, which this wise person taught me. Hippocrates said, "Let food be your medicine and medicine be your food." Remember that. He went on to say, his phrase and other phrases that he created is used in the medical arena even to today. Doctors, before they become physicians, they must pledge the Hippocratic Oath. I know you've heard of that, right? Do no harm. They practice that. Do no harm. They have to do that before they get their license. That's how they came up with this virus. They put their attention upon it. I'll talk about attention in a little while. After you have some food to eat, we'll get into attention and the beauty and the fascination of human attention. Because we all have intelligence. All of the species have intelligence. But we're the only human beings who have the highest. We have a small portion of the intelligence that the Creator or the universe has placed inside of our consciousness. But we're the only species that disobey because our mothers and grandmothers and generations of relatives messed us up. For years, Dr. Wordloff, we were trained by psychiatrists and psychologists that intelligence is fixed. We discovered that it's not fixed. It can go up and down with the duality principle. Depending on how you eat, food can calm your nerves down, can put you in a relaxed state, can get rid of a lot of the stress in the body, and make you more able to concentrate attention. There's in your folder, I don't have time to go into this now, but in your folder, you have something on, let me pull it out so you can take a look at it. You can read it later when you get home. I think I put it in. I don't know if I put it in. This is one part of it. There's another part which says that you got this. You can read that. They talk about how IQ, they've proven that IQ can go up or down. And the thing which regulates IQ is the concentration of attention. If your attention gets scattered, you easily get bored if you eat certain food, and it's hard to concentrate. Thomas Edison ate plant-based food. He dropped out of school in 3rd grade. And yet this genius quality surfaced inside of himself. And he was able to come up with hundreds of different discoveries concerning photography, telephones, movies, machine. He patented a lot of them because he had a fanatical desire to concentrate attention. The more fanatical you can become, the more intensification or the more intensified you become in concentration of attention, the universe will respond. She has absolutely no choice but to give up its secrets. Dr. Carver is a proven genius of this nature. The black scientist who lived in the 1800s and the last half of the last century. He was an ex-slave that they castrated. This frail man was not so much interested in money and power. They only paid him $1,500 a year at Tuskegee Institute. He put all of his attention upon the study of the sweet potato plant, the peanut plant, and other plants. And I met somebody in the 70s who owned a health food store in Chicago. Her name was Dr. Fulton. And she said, because I asked her, how did Dr. Carver come up with all of this? She said, Dr. Carver said, we all have this ability. We just have to fall in love with the study of whatever we do. And I said, but tell me a real answer. She said, metaphorically, he told me that the plants talked to him and gave up their secrets. The universe operates like that. There's a section in here, I won't go over all of it, but on this particular page, you'll see how healthy plant-based food has improved the school system, and it's been documented. You can Google all of this stuff in here. Where children in Central High School in Appleton, Wisconsin, in the late 90s, were running all over the place, not knowing that they were not animals, because we all have some animalism in us, right? And they were failing grades. Some of them committed suicide because food can put you in a strange mood. And once they created a healthy lunch program, they discovered that their nervous system slowed down, and they put attention on their lessons. And the teachers were shocked that the academic performance went up, the grades went up. And they have since conducted experiments in different parts of American schools. You'll read about that in this document too. And Karen Stout, if you don't have that page, you can ask me, you can Google it. She studied over 2,000 lunchrooms in America, of which the same results came up and was proven. So plants are fascinating. So these two documents, don't forget this. Your body is made nonviolent. You can't help it. If you go to church, anybody who's gone to church or to a mosque or a synagogue, regardless of your religion. I remember when I went to the church, when I was a child, they tell you that this body is a temple. They may not go into detail, but this body is a temple. And he said, yes, it is a house. He used the word house. And we sit on the 6th floor of this house. He went into detail. I may go into that in the second part of the talk. He said, this house is full of secrets. It's connected with the universe. The universe has given human beings the capacity to unravel all of her secrets that she's hidden. No other species can unravel them. And if you wish to unravel the greatest secret that the universe offers, which is the secret of the source of the Creator, then you have to be fanatical. Since most of you, I'm looking around, maybe Christian, I'll use this example. In Matthew's, I believe it's the Gospel of Matthew's, chapter 7, verse, one of the verses, I can't think of the exact verse, but in that gospel, you must love the Lord with all your mind, heart, and soul. Fanatical attention. That's what they're talking about if you put it in an American language. But most of the people who go to church, they say, I can't love the Lord to that extent. I can only put superficial attention because I got to take care of my wife, my children, my job. Then they ask me, has the Lord put something in his body which can hold your attention? I say, yes. I learned this too. I'll explain that later, Reverend, if you ask that question. He's put something in his body which can hold your attention, where even if you try to take the attention off of him while you're walking, talking, you cannot. But we don't know how to get in touch with that something that he's placed inside this body. All of the religions say the same thing. They say, in essence, and they use the same language in their own language without knowing each other. They say the same thing. It depends on how far they have gone inside this body. Scientists and great people that we have studied in this world, such as Einstein, George Washington Carver, Plato, Aristotle, Newton, Da Vinci, some of the artists, Rodin, Leonardo da Vinci, some of the mathematicians, Pythagoras, Empedocles, some of these great people, including some of the great poets, Keats, Emerson, they all ate plant-based food. You don't learn that at the college level. They tell you more about Shakespeare's plays and his poetry. They talk about Einstein's theories on light and relativity and his famous equation of E equals MC squared. They talk about this. But occasionally in some of the historical information, like Thoreau, he practiced civil disobedience, which was nonviolence. Gandhi believed in ahimsa, which is nonviolence. It's another name for nonviolence. And if you go deep into that, Dr. King said, love your enemies. He was quoting Christ. But he didn't, even Dr. King didn't understand it, because when the news people asked him, you know, Gandhi ate plant-based food. He said, I love my greens and ham hocks. Okay? The universe did not help him in that sense. Had it helped him, he may have changed. His wife changed before she passed away. She started eating plant-based food. So the universe is the entity which can help you through coincidences. This is a coincidence that you come in here today. It's a coincidence. So one thing about this universe, she has placed a minuscule amount of intelligence in the human body, more intelligent than in the lower species. But this minuscule intelligence can expand and grow. And if it becomes fanatical, even superficially fanatical in any area of pursuit, the secrets embedded within that activity automatically unfolds itself, automatically reveals itself to you. Whether you're Michael Jordan who loved basketball, you become one of the greats. Or Baby Ruth, you become one of the greats in baseball. Or Einstein, who was a dyslexic. I don't know if you know it, he flunked his entrance exam to the most famous and prestigious university in Germany. He flunked. And when he went to the Polytechnic Institute in Zurich, he said he was bored with his studies. He didn't like the way the professors taught. He cut classes. But he had a friend by the name of Marcel Grossman, who took notes for him. And Einstein admitted later in life that he took the notes, studied them, and passed the class. And he said to another friend of his who was close to himself, that Bessel said to me, and he shared it with several audiences, that only monomaniacs make great discoveries. Monomaniac is somebody who's insanely concentrated on a particular area of activity. And what gives them this ability to concentrate, the universe placed more love and more liking in them for this particular subject matter or this particular activity. Does that make sense? She does that. So, without further ado, let me go into nonviolence in greater detail. I talked about duality, violent species, nonviolent species. I talked about how the violent species are made and how the nonviolent species are made, and how nature has set up this process. And the thing which separates us from the violent species is human attention. And the way we develop our ability to tap into this potential genius that's buried inside this body is through the process of concentration of attention. But we have to be fortunate enough to go to the right schools or meet the right teacher who can act as a catalyst and make us concentrate. And when these teachers create this, whether worldly teachers, scientific teachers, or religious teachers, if you can find someone, that teacher should be qualified. I know Reverend Wordloff, he might have forgotten, and years ago, he said, why don't you become a deacon? I said, I'm not qualified. Christ said, in order to be qualified, I'm speaking metaphorically, giving you the interpretation, you must have the ability to concentrate the attention within this body. In Luke 17:21, the kingdom of God is inside this body. How can a huge kingdom, an expansive, wonderful kingdom, be situated inside such a puny human body? He was talking about the way to go inside is through a hidden door that's situated in this body. We only know about 9 doors in this body. You got 2 doors here at the eye level. These are holes. These are apertures. I call them doorways, okay? The eyes can pick up the sounds and sights of this world and get attached. Okay? You got 2 holes in the ears. These are earlobes. You hear wonderful sounds and music in this world, and you can get attached. These are outward things that we get attached to through these openings. You have 2 openings here at the nose level. You got 2 nostrils. You breathe. You pick up scents and fragrances of this world, and you can get attached. Oh, beautiful scents. Oh, ugly scents. Ugly fragrance. And then you got 1 doorway here. We open that doorway wider than the rest of them. We not only eat, we like to talk. But if you learn to listen to people, you get closer to them. It's an automatic process because the Creator made you to be a listener. When we engage in prayer, this wise man said, you must learn to listen to the Lord. Most of us, when we sit in prayer or get on our knees, we busy talking to the Lord. Lord, help my cousin, help me get over this problem. We're telling the Lord what to do all the time like he's unintelligent. Nobody has told us that we have to listen. This person said you must listen. But how do you listen? There are 2 things. Let me go further down into the body. You got a door at the butt in which you defecate, and you have one at the reproductive organ. A lot of men live at the reproductive area. They put all their attention on that area. So the Reverend, you have a hard time with those men, right? Would you pass these to those 2 people that are talking? Okay. So these are the 9 doors in the body. The 10th door, I've not met anybody except for this one person. There may be others in this world who can specifically describe where this door is located in the body. He also said there are 12 floors in this body. I said, what do you mean 12 floors? He said, sir, Professor Brinson, turn your back to me. Your consciousness is flowing throughout this entire body, from the head all the way down to your big toe. He called me by my name. He was standing behind me. I turned my head. He said, why did you turn your head? I said, because I wanted to see you. He said, no, you turned it because you feel you are sitting somewhere in the head. The bulk of you is situated in a special seat in the head. This seat is located right behind these 2 eyeballs. I'm going to take out $1. You can look at it later. If you look on the back of this dollar, you will see a pyramid. It's an old African Egyptian symbol. And in the Bible, they talk about this symbol in a metaphorical way. Christ in Matthew 6 chapter, 22 verse. If thy eye becomes singular, he's talking about the singularization of human attention. This door will open. It opens automatically. There are 2 ways to open this door. One is an easy and beautiful way in which nature has designed for it to open. And the other way is because of traumatic experiences that you have. A gunshot wound, a heart attack, a stroke. That forces the door open. Your eyes roll back in your head, and the door opens and you leave the body. But when you leave the body, before you cross this region of fear, because everything wants to stay in the body, even if you became an ant or worm and said, look, you can have a human life, you can live wonderful, you can be rich, you can look and stuff. The ant will say, no, I don't want to be a human being. We don't want to die, no matter how much the person has worshiped the Creator. Most people don't really want to die because the knowledge is such that you want to stay in this body. I was talking to a friend of mine at the back of the room. He's a Muslim. He was telling me years ago that one of his buddy had died. And I guess he died with a gun in his hand. And the police came and they had to almost cut his finger off. Because when we die, if we're afraid, we hold on to something as though that'll keep us in the body. But this thing that is in the body snatches you out. And if you want to smoothly go out and take a furlough out of the prison of these three covers that cover up your real self. You got to learn how to do this from somebody who knows how. And Christ was teaching his disciples how to do this. Peter was one of his chief disciples. He saw Christ doing all kinds of outside miracles on people, healing people that couldn't walk, couldn't see. And he thought he loved Christ greatly. Christ said, Peter, if I can modernize the language, yes, you love me. I know you're willing to go to jail for me, but Peter, when the cock crows 3 times, you'll deny me. Because you don't know how to furlough yourself out of this body. You have not perfected the art of listening to this thing which can pull you out. Can you think of anything more wonderful and fascinating than this? To have the ability to vacate this body at will. All your problems will have been solved with one stroke of the pen. You can solve all your problems if you had this ability. I said, what? He shocked me. I said, is this possible? He said, this body has been wonderfully and fearfully made. But you've not come in, and then the universe has not allowed you to come in contact with the right person who can show you this methodology. Because if you just use your imagination, Professor, if you can withdraw attention at night and go in and talk and be with the Creator who created everything, you can deal with anything in this world. You can follow the scriptures that you've been taught in church. If somebody come and take your coat, give them your overcoat. What do you care about an overcoat? You got beautiful garments inside. If they slap you on one cheek, you turn it because you can't feel it. You can turn, you can shut off that sense. And you can say, slap the other one. You'll know exactly why they slapping you. You won't get caught up in prejudice. Because most of the problems that you have, if somebody calls you an N-word, you react. You know you're not that body. You just dressed in a suit, a costume. It'll be a natural reaction rather than a disciplined reaction. So this person shared all of this with me, and I said, that's too impossible to believe. I said, I have a hard time believing that. He said, I know. He said, I wish it were true, but if it's not true, I'm wishing that it were true. He said, every human being wishes it was true. Believe you me, it is true. I myself have had this experience. And if you wish to have it, you have to change your life. Eat plant-based food. Try to listen to the Lord at night. And I'll teach you how to listen, because the only thing that comes in your listening apparatus is your silent tongue. What about, I gotta go to work. What about my kids? I gotta do this. I got to. That's what's blocking you. And you are at the 6th floor of this body. There are 12 floors. 6 above this level, the wakeful state, and 5 below. This is the halfway house. This body is a prison, and you're in the halfway house. And in order to have furloughs, you have to get the permission of the warden. Okay? And if you can have a furlough, if somebody wanted to put you in solitary confinement, you wouldn't mind. It would be like in a monastery. You can vacate the body at will if you learn this art. Go be inside and enjoy all of the heavens. Because in Matthew's 6th chapter, 15, Christ says to his disciples, I want you to be exactly like me. You should become exactly like me. Not lesser, not more. Any teacher can only take you to the stage in which they have gone, even in this world. And he said, the Father, this is a beautiful statement. The Father has given me everything. Everything that belongs to the Father belongs to me. Which means this physical, gargantuan creation is a playland. You can go anywhere in the universe, see if there are other life forms, other species, and enjoy them, and then come back and go to work tomorrow. That was a person that he told me about who used to go to sleep all the time. He would spend most of his spare time sleeping. He was married to a wife that nagged him all the time. And I know you can identify with this. I can. And somebody told me this particular phrase, which will create some joy and laughter. This person was married for several years, And he said he felt like he was cursed. And he said, oh, I can resolve that. Come and see me tomorrow, but you have to tell me what were the words that they said so I can reverse the curse. He said, I'll tell you tomorrow morning when I come. So he came and met that person. And that person said, what were the words? What are the words? He said, the words are and were, I pronounce you man and wife. Because you have to be balanced. The wife or the husband offer you an opportunity to see how much spiritual progress you have made. If she slaps you, turn the other cheek. Feed them some more plant-based food, okay? She'll become like the sheeps and the cattle. They are full of harmony, harmonizing with each other. They don't try to kill each other and hurt each other. Anyway, are there any questions? At this time, we will take a break. I'll quit talking, and you'll have a question and answer session, and you can challenge me with all of your questions. And we'll have an evaluation session during the break where you can evaluate the food and even evaluate my presentation. Don't be afraid to criticize me. I want to learn. And ask questions during the question session. I want to see if I can satisfy your question. And if you want to offer criticism, please do that too. So at this time, I'm going to have Sandra, would you go in the back and see if Jared's ready with the food? And come out, and otherwise, if he's not ready, you can ask questions, okay? He's going to create it in a buffet style. You can got some juices. Yes, ma'am.
So, I guess I've been plant-based for about a year, and I have a family member who is going through a medical issue, and the recommendation was an adjustment in her diet. And she's like, but how do you address things like making sure you have the right nutrients, and especially with regard to protein?
Okay. Well, that person, if you just tell them to use their imagination, where does the elephant get this protein? It eats nothing but plants. Some of these large animals eat nothing but plants. You see these big buffaloes and cows, that's all they eat. But if she wants to get specific, go see a doctor who can give her direct knowledge. But that's general knowledge. Is that satisfactory?
That's what I said.
Thank you. You know the same thing I know. Anybody got any other questions? Okay. So our next seminar, this sheet here, that's the next seminar. It deals with human attention. I talked a little bit about human attention today. We'll go deeper into attention because this is the thing that you need to understand. It's the most valuable asset that you possess in this body. Human attention is more valuable than money, gold, houses, cars, rocketry, everything, because it's with the concentration of human attention that people made these discoveries and inventions. So human attention is extremely powerful. It's the second most powerful force in the universe. The most powerful is the Creator. You have that inside your head, right behind the eyes. You just don't know how to concentrate it like some of these great people and great mystics and sages of history were able to do. So this seminar will take place at this place. We had scheduled about 20-some people. Some people canceled, they paid their money. We had some people coming from North Carolina. And they said, can they transfer that money next time? I got a person and his wife. He's a doctor. He's coming from California. I said, no, we were too crowded. They'll be here next time. And there were a couple more people. So we got right now to 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, about 16 people here. So we'll have about we may have more than the 30 that we have assigned. So if we get too many, we'll take the parking lot, buy a tent, and put it outside, because it should be still sunny and warm at that time. So if you know anybody else who may want to come and partake of this, since the man over to my right is shaking his head.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, Reverend?
Doing all right. Good to see you.
And so I remember going out to lunch with him,
Yeah.
and he had a burger, and he enjoyed it. He couldn't believe it was so tasty.
Right.
Today you'll end up tasting some products made from plants.
Yes, sir.
I believe you text my wife saying something about, I can't believe it's meat. You went to a restaurant and
Yeah.
partake of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm glad you have becoming a nonviolent pursuer
Yes, sir.
of lifestyle.
Yes, sir.
I accept your addiction. I know you're trying to make a transition.
Yes, sir.
I myself have been messed up this way too, so I can't be critical.
Mhm.
But we do have some food that looks like, chew like, and tastes like meat.
Yeah.
And I want all of you, everybody in this room without leaving, some of you are already doing this, to embrace and support the nonviolent way in which you've been made. And we're going to try to help you make that transition. We don't ask that you become an ascetic, only humane,
Yeah. Yeah.
and follow the way in which you've been made.
Yes, sir.
And if you can have something that looks like, chew like, and tastes like meat, why would you turn your back on nature? She made you this way. Because if you disobey this principle, you know what she does? She still is compassionate. She's like a policeman that will give you warning tickets and make you sick. Okay? When you get a situation like that, you go see a doctor. They say, well, you got to lower your blood pressure, cut back on salt, don't eat so much meat. Because meat got cholesterol. It can clog up your arteries. So the doctors start giving you knowledge. Okay? But if you can eat this way, you can give some of the knowledge to the doctors. They said, look, eat plant-based food. Share this information. You got any kids?
Yes, sir.
Well, bring them up where they can learn to calm down. Because this nervous energy and hyperactivity, I used to teach school, and I used to tell my students, pretend you're a human being, please. I said, practice it. Pretend. And you will develop human qualities because it's inside of you. Just pretend. And they said, you crazy, Mr. Brinson. But when they grew up and met me, they said, you right.
That's right.
Because people are killing people all the time in Inglewood, on the South Side, and North Side. They all go out and pick up unnatural instruments, guns, knives, and sticks,
Oh, yeah.
and shoot people. And the police department don't know how to deal with it.
Right.
But one thing happens with, have a seat. Anywhere. How you doing?
How you doing?
Okay.
Y'all serving pork chop guy.
Pardon me?
Serving pork chop guy.
Oh, we haven't perfected the pork chop.
Oh, okay.
What's your name?
I'm John. This is Maryland. I'm John.
Oh, nice to meet you, John.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I heard a lot about you.
Oh,
And you can ask all kind of questions. I love to be challenged. You missed out on some of the talk. Let me give you this. Would you pass these two to me? Because this particular sheet you have, since you have a scientific mind, read this. Study it on your own. You are a non-violent species. Okay? This is another sheet. Since you are highly intelligent, and your intelligence can grow if you understand scientific studies that have been made in school systems throughout America. Okay? This information can be Googled. It's not the information that I got. We just collected it and put it in a format for you to study it. Because one thing I've been taught, don't believe anything you see or hear. Try to get verification. And the only instrument you have to verify anything is human attention. You go to school, they say H2O is water, right? If you go in the chemistry lab and experiment, you can discover that. If somebody says something to you, which I've been saying some strange things, are you a Christian?
Yes, sir.
Matthew 6:22. If thy eye become single, thy whole body shall be full of light. It means that there's a door in this body. If you open it, light comes, which is knowledge, awareness. Also, in the Bible, it talks about the 10th door. Matthew's 7th chapter. Knock and the door shall open. We don't know what the door is. So as you go deep into this, you'll make a discovery. If there's a door in your body, you'll discover it if you knew how to use your attention. Right now, you're using your attention locked into 9 doors. 2 here, these are opening. 2 here, these are earlobes. 2 here, 1 at the mouth. And I heard that you got a gift for the mouth, okay?
Oh, somebody been doing the talking.
Somebody been doing it. So this door, if you keep it closed to some extent, and you have a door at the reproductive organ and at the buttocks in which you defecate. But you on the 6th floor of this body, right behind these 2 eyeballs. If somebody call you, John, by your name, or your wife, and they behind you, you'll turn your head, right? You won't turn your arms and your legs, because even though your consciousness is flowing through the entire body, you operate from this seat in the head. You turn the head. You won't turn the arms and say, how you doing? And back. That's natural in you. But nobody's told you about these doors and openings. I call them openings. And when you die, this other door opens and you force out of this body. You go, your eyes roll back in your head and you go out. But then you'll discover you're not dead. There have been people who've been shot. I met a lot of individuals who told me they had heart attacks, strokes, and they died, and they watched the doctors and the nurses as the ambulance was taken them to the hospital in the emergency room. How many have seen the movie Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg and Patrick Swayze? Raise your hand. Look at it again. That movie is 95% accurate based on real research. You may think it's fantasy, it's accurate. Because when you get out of this body, you'll find yourself, if you have been murdered to some extent, like Patrick Swayze, trying to hit the man, trying to attack him, and protect a Demi Moore. His hand went through the body of the person, because you're in a ghost body. But that body is made of light. It's not made of physical matter. It's made of a light type of matter. And that body can walk through walls. It can think and move and chase the ambulance. And for the first time, you can look at your body. That body can be bleeding from a gunshot wound. It can be clinically dead. I'll go into clinical death later in the next talk, in the next section. But when clinical death takes place, people have the feeling, who was that ugly person? For the first time, they look at their body in a three-dimensional form. They don't feel any pain. They can hear better. These senses, which are embedded on this body, they improve because they get released from the grossness and the trap of this physical body. You can see better. You can hear better. You can hear long distances. You can actually hear what's going on in another person's mind. Women are gifted with this ability even in this body. Men have this gift too, but women have been blessed. They are more spiritually advanced. They've been given this ability. They should not ego trip. The Lord has made them this way because they have this love in their body and they're made to take care of children. Men can run away. They're crazy. A lot of us are crazy. Women cannot run away so easily. And they're made like this. And so if they listen to a man, if we can teach, if we got some young people in here that want to teach some of these young girls. I had a lady who said to me, one of my wife's friends, about 4 months ago, she was supposed to come, but she was a little sick, so she couldn't make it today. She said she's not been with a man in 45 years. I said, why? She revealed herself to me over the phone. She said, I got pregnant, and I haven't been with a man for 45 years. I said, you're the right person. So if we have seminars with the young girls, we can teach them. Get the man attached to you first. Make him go to church, make him hold your hand, make him go meet your father. You know, they're going to try to run away from these activities. But if they get attached and that love starts flowing, maybe they'll become a good man and a more family man. But these boys are running the streets talking, oh, I got 3 or 4 in the oven. They talk like that. And she said, I used to hear this talk And she said she learned a lesson. Because a man's attention is constantly at the second floor in the body, the reproductive organ. He can't help it. He's made like that. And so the women, if they use their intuition and minds, especially as young girls, because the intuition is telling them, even though this man can use very flowery words, very beautiful words, and these words, if they rap to you in a loving way, they can shut down your intuition. And you'll open up your legs, which is where your power exists, okay? Don't do that, okay? And another thing she can do, if she comes and talk to some of these young girls, if y'all want to invite them to your church at the right time, I'll encourage you to come. Because it's best to hear this from a woman or girl. But anyway, attention is a strange thing. It's a small amount of intelligence that Mother Nature has placed inside this human body. And it can expand and grow if you eat proper food. The food will help the attention grow because you're made that way. So the universe will help you grow in intelligence. If you read some of those articles, you will find that people who ate plant-based food, they automatically expanded their intelligence. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Da Vinci, Darwin, Einstein, Pythagoras, Edison, Shakespeare, Leonardo da Vinci, Rodin, Gauguin, all of these great people that we admire. Louis Pasteur, who came up with how to purify milk. These individuals concentrated their attention. Einstein, who came up with this wonderful equation of E equals MC squared. He conducted thought experiments in his head. He didn't like being around people. He admits that he could spend long hours in solitude by himself, concentrating on the universe. So much so that the universe gave up its secrets. That there's no difference between energy and matter. And taught him that time itself, which we take to be real, is not real. When Einstein won the Nobel Prize in the early 20s, and he was surrounded by a group of reporters who was shocked and said, how can you say time is not real? My body get old, I see people dying, I'm getting wrinkled, my children are growing up. How can you say such a statement? Einstein said that time is also unreal. And one day they'll prove it to you. Because if you can travel to approximate the speed of light, because time is connected with light and speed. So as you go fast in outer space, approximating the speed of light, time itself will slow down. And all of the instruments that you have in the spacecraft or on the fast-moving jet will also slow down. The computer, the watch that you're wearing, your metabolism, your heartbeat, your blood pressure, everything will slow down. And if you go at super speed and go way out in the galaxy for 10 years, you come back to Earth, which is your reference, original point. You'll be wondering, where's my mother? They took down the house. Oh, she's in so-and-so cemetery. She died 100 years ago. You said, what? You look at your face, you say, I haven't got that many gray hairs. I'm still looking young. What happened to my children? They also died. They're in this particular cemetery. Or they were cremated. You'll be shocked. That's the only way you can discover that time is unreal. He said, we have proven this, and they did prove it by putting atomic clocks on airplanes. And they predicted how much time would slow down if you move at great speeds. And they had an atomic clock on Earth. And they made an accurate mathematical prediction. But we feel time is real. We even feel this body is real. This body is not us. It's a prison. It's a house we wear in. And we sit on the 6th floor. We don't know how to go to the other floors. We live our entire lives on 2 floors. The wakeful state of consciousness, in which I'm talking to you now and you're listening to me, and the dream state, which we fall down into the body at this 5th floor. And from this floor, we create time and space. In the dream world, you can be a child, become old. You can look in the mirror if you get a chance to look in the mirror. I said to my sister years ago, I said, if you're dreaming, go look in the mirror in the house. And she did. She woke up and shocked. Because when she looked in the mirror, she had an experience which you had, Reverend. I won't share it with them. She saw she was a man. And she saw other people. People have dreams where they end up speaking the language of that environment. If they were Spanish, they can speak Spanish and they never studied it. If they were male, they dream that they were female and they wake up shocked. I had one of my relatives had 2 dreams. I won't tell you who he is. You may get to know him one day. He said he dreamed that he was in high heels. I said, how you know you were a woman? He said, because I was running. I said, how did your legs? He said, I was a white woman. I said, what? It's strange. I can tell you where these experiences are coming from at some later date. Not now. We've had these experiences. A child, when it's in the womb of a mother, I'm going off on a tangent. I'm trying to hold your attention. Am I doing a good job? Talking about these extraneous areas. When a child is in the womb of a mother, the child knows exactly how long it's going to live, how many marriages it's going to have, why it was born to this particular parent, whether it was white or black, why it was born in a particular country, how much money it's going to make. It knows all of that. But the minute it comes out, the doctor hit it on the butt, but the attention drops from a secret area in the body. It's on the peripheral area of the seventh floor. It's been placed there because nature put it there. If the baby attention drops to this level, it'll die. The blood, the suffocation, the heat, all of that will smother the baby. It'll die. But the seat can be awakened at birth. The child opens its eyes, look around. Who are these strange people? The child, oh, I know this person. The child wants to be in that particular person's arm and not that person, even though that may be the mother. It'll cry. You understand? That's how the child communicates. And as the child grows up, Dr. Ian Stevens, if you want to do research in this area, he's done a lot of research. I have a DVD tape by Cuomo, who did this report in the 80s. He come on TV now. He's a major reporter. And he interviewed this person who gave a strange story. And the father was a Christian. He didn't believe this crazy stuff. So his son was telling him at an early age. I remember as he was looking at a history book, his father was showing him a picture in a history book. He said, Dad, I got killed over Iwo Jima. I was in World War II. The father said, something's wrong with this boy. No. The mother said, maybe it could have happened. She didn't know how. So they called this particular doctor in. His name was Dr. Ian Stevenson. He came in to interview this boy. And I'll tell you more about that. Let me go off into another area. He interviewed a particular girl who had grown up. And if you want to read his book, he got photographs and everything of the girl. She was about 5 and 6. And she said, I was in America. I'd come from my country to have an operation. And I was on the phone trying to call my daughter up. And during the operation, I died. And when I died, I took birth in another family. But her memory was fully intact. Normally, our memory is not fully intact. We have deja vu, vague Alzheimer from that doctor slapping us. And that Alzheimer helped us. Oh, I like this particular lady. Let me marry her. You met so many of them, brother. I can look at you and tell you. Okay? You met so many. But this one appealed to you. And you appealed to her. So your destiny is weaved up in this strange coincidental memory, which you can't put your fingers on. This person has specific memory. The boy I was telling you about and this particular girl. Her memory was so specific that when she met this doctor who was trying to get her out of this fantasy, because she said to her mother, you're not my mother. I got children. I live at this particular address. This doctor was fascinated with this information. So he tried to trick this girl. He wanted to see for himself if she was lying or just making up a fantasy. So he met the ex-husband, and he met the ex-husband. He said, I want you to come to the hotel. I'm going to give you a few dollars. I want you to participate in a scientific study. I want you to meet somebody. And he told another man, I want you to dress in a brown suit. The husband is dressed in a blue suit. and I'll meet you at the hotel. So he said, let me take your daughter. He took the parents. I want to take her to my laboratory and do some studies on her. So he took her to the hotel, and he said, come on, I want you to meet your husband. He's sitting over there in the brown suit. She said, what you talking about? My husband's in the blue suit. That shocked the man, okay? How can a girl say she was married to this man? So she gave this man detail, which he could not dispute. He was in a state of skepticism when he heard this young girl. She said, don't you remember when we were on the honeymoon? And I had on this particular outfit. And I said, if something ever happened to me, would you remarry? He said, no. She said, you still keep your money in that particular bedroom? Under that wooden floor with a rug over it? He said, yes. He was wondering, how did she know all of this particular detail? How did children do it? She talked like these are her children. So as time went on, this man and had a picture of his deceased wife. And this girl, this doesn't happen all the time, but this girl grows up, and this doctor took a picture and put it in his book of both pictures. They look almost eerily alike. How can you have memory like that and look like that? There's too much evidence for you to doubt it. And if you want to go into the scriptures, I can tell you parts of the scripture, which Constantine eliminated. But he couldn't see all of it. There are certain parts that go into this. Constantine, when he organized 250 bishops in Nicaea in Rome, he paid them big money and said, I give you big churches, because he was a conqueror. He was like Saddam Hussein. He had his child killed, his grown child, his name was Sisyphus. He had his wife killed, and her name was Falsus. So he was fearful that they may try to perform a coup d'etat and take over his regime. He had conquered most of Europe and part of Asia. So he wanted to control the minds of the people. So he paid these bishops and said, I offer you big money because Christianity has affected that part of the world. And we need a holy book. The Muslim got their holy book, but we don't have a holy book. So the bishops went around and collected all of the canons and holy papers at that time. And Constantine, when he met with them, he said, oh, you can eliminate this. He had scholars at that time. He said, put this in. This is too abstract. Nobody can understand this. He figured, because everybody at that time was Christian in that part of the world, if I can capture their minds, with military might, I can control their bodies. I can control where they live in this part of the world. I can control a lot of things. If I can control their inner thinking, then I become a full 100% despot, dictator. So he came up with this document, which they call the Holy Bible. And this was in 325 AD, if you do the history. So this is how books information can get misplaced. How many have heard of hermeneutics? Raise your hand. One person? Anybody else? Hermeneutics. I may have a class on that if you want to go deep into the study of hermeneutics. Because words that we use can create different understanding. If I use a word today and says something, look at that lady, she got a run in her stocking. 2,000 years from now, they say a stocking can't run. Take this paper and run it off for me. What do you mean run? Paper can't run. It means run it off on a machine, mimeographic, right? So run got over 20-some different definitions in the dictionary. How can you, even if you're a scholar, unravel the hidden meaning? And when Christ spoke, he spoke in parables, in public. So a person can read into whatever meaning they have at that time. You can say something today and say, look at that woman. She's extremely ugly, and she can be the most beautiful woman, and people will laugh at you. And the woman will laugh, because she knows she's looking pretty, right? You can't put a wink in a dictionary on a piece of paper. You can misunderstand things. And that's what goes on. So these subject matters, I've been fortunate to gain an understanding from this individual. And he just didn't give me intellectual information, because intellectual information can give you the wrong understanding. You can get partial understanding. He said there's a way to verify. Go inside this body and see for yourself, because the knowledge that you're seeking is rare and exists at the next level of consciousness. The knowledge of how this world been created, how the species have been created, what they're supposed to eat, all of this knowledge is there. But it can flow into this body in the form of intuition. You put no brakes. It can give you DNA information on how you sweat, if you want to get it that way. But if you want to get it the real way, go inside and see for yourself. Luke 17:21 is correct. But we don't know how to go inside this body. We just don't know. One day you'll be forced to go inside. And you'll say, oh, Brinson told me the truth. I didn't know it was like this. And you'll want to stay there. After this class, if you want to read about people who've had these experiences, I can recommend 2 books. If you want to write them down on the back of your sheet, I can give them to you now. Dr. Raymond, R-A-Y-M-O-N-D, Moody. He was a psychiatrist. And back in the 1980s, he went around to all these hospitals and was able to talk to over 1,000 patients, probably now more so. And when he talked to these patients, he discovered that they had clinically died and were resuscitated, which is a miracle. Because most people, when they die, they don't come back, at least right away. So you don't know what's going on. You left in the dark. They reported some of these experiences that they shared and created in the movie Ghost. And Betty Eady, Embraced by the Light, that's another book. She had a clinical death experience. And on one of the pages in the book, in the early part of the book, she talked about going through a tunnel, and she described it as the valley of the shadow of death. But prior to reaching that tunnel, she said she was in the hospital room and everything became dark. Her eyes were shut, and she heard a strange noise. All of the people who clinically die, they talk of the noise that they hear. And she said this noise got louder and louder and became extremely melodious, extremely beautiful and titillating and attractive. It held her attention. And she flew out of the body at speed greater than the speed of light. And she went into the higher regions of the astral world. That world is huge. It would make this world, with all of its trillions of galaxies, look like a small pebble that you find outside, like a rock, compared with the astral plane. The astral plane, if you take that, the entire galactic system with all of its trillions of stars and planets and moons, which becomes a little pebble, and put it in the Pacific Ocean, the Pacific Ocean would be the side of that region. And that's just one level of consciousness. It's not the highest level. This is the elementary school of the spiritual world. I'm sharing this with you. That's the elementary school. There are many mansions inside this body. The Lord is far away, way up. The Creator's way up. He's rarefied himself. He's made himself extremely rare for monomaniac seekers. A monomaniac is an extreme seeker. He's made himself rare. But we look for rarity in this world. Ask any woman. If you marry her and you give her a rare diamond, oh, she'll like that. She doesn't want a small little rock, right? She's looking for rarity. She's looking for a rare man too, who can cuddle her, protect her, take care of her. Woman is made to be taken care of. They made like this. Nature has made them to be receivers from the man. The man is a projectile. He projects, protects, and provides. He projects all the way down to the sperm. The woman just sits there and the sperm swim up there and fertilizes her egg. She doesn't have to do anything. The sperm is aggressive. It swims, it moves. The man is made like a mover. Okay? Does that make sense what I'm saying? I know you're shaking your head. But I didn't mean to talk about these reproductive issues too much. I just want you to see the consistency of the DNA in which this body has been made. But the main thing, if you read Betty Eadie, when she got into the heavens, she knew certain people. She spoke to them. And one figure she thought was Jesus. She didn't ask, because sometimes people go there and they say, oh, you Muhammad. Oh, you Buddha. And they said it because of what they learned in this world. If they ask those individuals, are you that person? They'll tell them the truth. Because that's a region of non-deception. This is the only region where you can have fun and deceive other people. Even if you read their minds, they can say, no, you're not right. Look at Donald Trump, people. Even if you got films, they said, no, this was a tourist attraction. The soldiers and the people who watch that facility are mad at them. They get depressed. Some of them have committed suicide. And these Republicans are trying to change the votes. They're trying to count the votes, and they don't want us to win the election because Trump is thinking he can come back. Right now they got all kinds of laws and cases on them. But these Republicans, even though they graduated from Harvard, some of them are highly intelligent, but they shut down their intelligence because they're concerned with power and position. So you will see this process taking place in this world. Republicans, Democrats, duality principle operating even in politics, right? So duality creates a problem. You got to unify your consciousness. You got to singularize your attention, and knowledge will flow. But when you get there, you get verification, because your attention is the verifying instrument even in this world. You can verify everything. And even when you see, even when you use your senses, he said, they operate in a strange way. If you walk in somewhere and you see a lot of trees and you see birds and squirrels, but your attention is on a lot of squirrels, and somebody said, you went to that forest, you didn't see the birds flying around? You said, no. You didn't see the worms moving on the ground? You didn't see the animals walking around? He said, no, I saw the squirrels only. Attention, in order to see the other things, even though they're there, you have to set something in your head. Oh, look at that tree. When you set it, you get an image and the awareness takes place. It's strange that awareness can only take place when you recognize it and say it with some kind of sound or word in your head. Did you know that? That's the only way it takes place. You may not see anything. If you don't say anything, then the image does not come and you don't see it, even with your eyes open. I'm sure you, Reverend, have experienced this when people say, oh, you didn't speak to me. You say, I didn't see him. Haven't you had that experience in church, sir? They get mad at you. Your attention was not there, so you really didn't see him. That's how attention operates. But when you say this word, so-and-so, it registers. When you say anything, it registers. You communicate silently in your head about everything. You speak in strange sounds that give you the association of the meaning of what you're seeing. And if you can shut down this language, which is constantly running off at the mouth, silently, even when you're by yourself, it blocks your awareness. It won't allow you to expand your awareness. But if there's something in this body, which I'll talk to at some time in the future, that can shut down this running off at the mouth silently in your head and block your concentrational ability. I'll tell you about that later at some time. There's something in this body which can shut everything down and increase your awareness. Any other questions? I guess they prepare the food and he'll come in here and announce, and you can try the food, fill out the green cards, and also there's another something in here. This, let's see if I got it. Hope I brought it.
Professor,
Yes?
the food is ready.
Okay, one more thing I'm gonna say. And then they can eat. You have a questionnaire form in this yellow folder. I don't have it up here. Pull it out. There are questions on it. An evaluation of the presentation of the seminar, a comment on how we can improve it, and some of the other classes and seminars that we offer. So JR, are you ready? Can they get up?
Yep.
Okay, let me shut my mouth, and you can open up your mouth and start eating.